Good evening and welcome to the Richmond Olympic Oval for this nightcap between Team Sweden and Team USA. I'm Colin Emerson along with Byron Green, and Byron is a former Team Canada member himself who's fairly involved in the sport still. How are you this evening, Byron?
I'm doing great, thanks Colin.
And today, Byron, tonight I should say, we have two teams at the opposite end of the spectrum. We have the States, who is yet to lose at this event, and Sweden is looking to pick up their first win. So in a mismatch on paper, and we all know the game isn't played on paper, what do we expect to see here tonight?
Well, the U.S. is a very deep team, lots of quality players on their roster. I expect them to come out really hard and put the pressure on Sweden right away. Sweden has been playing quite well throughout the tournament. They've been, obviously they haven't had their first win yet, but they've come close in a couple of their games. So I expect them to play hard and continue to sharpen up in preparation for World Championships.
And with the States kind of already punching their ticket to the gold medal game, do you expect that they might use their bench even more than they usually would?
Yeah, well, Coach Cumby, he goes deep into his bench on the regular. I expect the same from him today here in this game. So we'll probably get to see every U.S. player out there on the court at some point.
Yeah, and we still saw that approach against Canada earlier this afternoon, and they still implemented a lot of their bench, and that enabled kind of their relentless attack approach to really take shape, as even the bench players were staying warm and very involved in the game. And that's what I think you'll see with the States. I've yet to see Sweden, so from the States' point of view, we will see that relentless attack that you mentioned. They like to force the action up court.
Yeah, Sweden will use their bench as well. They have two main lineups. They have more of a high-low with the 3-5-2-2-1, or sorry, a 3-5-2-5-1-1, and then they'll also bring out a 2-5-2-2, 2-5-2-5-2-1 lineup that has been quite effective for them throughout this tournament.
And for Sweden, is it a lot about, we've mentioned throughout the broadcast, just learning how to compete at this top level against the top team? I mean, in terms of seeding, they don't have much to play for, but you just want to know that you can kind of hang with the big boys in a 32-minute effort.
Yeah, well, talking with Benoit earlier, this is the first tournament where he's had his full roster present. A lot of the Swedish guys work, and you know, it's quite difficult to get everybody together to attend tournaments all at the same time. So I think he's happy to have his full roster here, playing at this high-level tournament and prepping for Worlds. So Sweden's going to look to sharpen up and to work on their half-court offense, work on their defense as well, in preparation for World Championships in Sydney, Australia.
So we're about 2 minutes from getting underway in this one, and both groups of players assembled at their sides, kind of getting a pep talk with each other and the coaches, and the refs are slipping off their gear, getting ready to go.
Yeah, tonight we have Ryan Gaudette and Chris Shore reffing the game, both good Canadian kids. Ryan Gaudette is probably one of our best Canadian referees, arguably one of the better referees in the world. So it's going to be a pleasure to have them reffing this game.
Yes, it will, and every game has been so greatly officiated by who's ever calling it. Very well done, as the teams, as we see in wheelchair rugby before and after the game, do little laps and exchange pleasantries and good sportsmanship. And that's one thing that I've noticed, and I've brought it up before, is coming from a hockey background like I have, you're so used to the kind of the trash talk and things that go on, and that just, it's still a competitive and physical sport, but you just don't really get any of that with this wheelchair rugby.
Yeah, in wheelchair rugby, the athletes have a lot of respect for each other. They'll go at each other hard while they're playing the game, but it's a pretty tight community off the court. And off the court, these guys will share laughs and share a beer, and we're all buds. So it's nice to see.
We're ready to go as Delagrave and Sandberg ready for the tip-off here.
Yeah, so U.S. is starting their 3-2-5-2.5 lineup. This is probably one of their strongest lineups, and we'll look to see them put the pressure on Sweden.
From the floor, Delagrave gets it to Aoki. Goes over the top, back to Delagrave, looking for an option. Back to Aoki, one more quick pass. Almost picked off by Sandberg, but it ends up in the hands of Wheeler. Good pressure by the Swedes, but the U.S. works it ahead, and ultimately it is Aoki taking it in.
So I think we're going to see lots of that, lots of ball movement from the U.S. They made probably 5 to 6 passes before they scored that goal, and we can expect to see lots of that this game.
Hildebrand now looking for an outlet off the inbound. It's a dangerous play. And the States turned that one over early, so he passed it to Sandberg even though he was in coverage. And Delgrave took that one in with ease. So
yeah, that was Joe using his height to his advantage and picking off that pass.
Sweden answers back.
Quick strike deep to Stefan, who likes to lurk near that goal area. So look to see more of that from Sweden.
Aoki working his way out of the traffic, long line ahead, a little bit risky.
And Sweden gets a turnover back. These teams are going at it.
Sandberg to Hirt. He's getting pressured hard by Aoki, and you notice he'll like to do that a lot. Force the play down court. Looking for an option is Hirt. Gets a nice pick there and working his way free. Bounces the ball. Trying to get a lane, but he's double teamed by two States players. Ultimately gets it over the top to Sandberg.
And we have a 4 in the key, and the refs call it a penalty goal. So Sweden puts at that point on the board.
Delagrave. Wheeler. Back to Delagrave, and Sandberg pursuing him, but he is able to ease in.
Joe just ekes in there pretty tight to the cone, but it's still a try.
Hildebrand inbounding the ball once again for Sweden. Pump fakes it there almost. Wasn't sure what he wanted to do, and another turnover by the States, so that's a second inbound turnover already.
That's
by
a
Team Sweden.
Great defensive set by the U.S. They're running a tight double-double. They're just putting a little token pressure deep, but they're leaving that deep bump pass wide open for Sweden, and Sweden has yet to take it.
Wow, this is not the start you want if you're Sweden, as they can't execute off any inbounds at the moment.
No, the U.S. has come out and they're looking very prepared. This looks like a very calculated defense on their part, so they must have been studying video before the game.
Trying for a third time is Hildebrand. See if he can find a man closer to him. Does find Sandberg. Aoki's keeping him pressured down court. A good job there by Hirt, giving him a little bit of a lane. Able to get it up and ahead, and a one-hand touch by Janssen over to Hirt.
Wow, and Sweden really had to execute there. They were in a tough position, but they managed to eke out the try.
Ooh, almost a turnover there by the States on the inbound, but they do maintain possession. Wheeler back to Delagrave. Delagrave trying to outrace Sandberg there, who's got him on the backtrack, but again, he's able to force his way in.
And Delgrave uses his size there to shove Tobias out of bounds and get that penalty try.
Sandberg back the other way for the Swedes. Hirt again helping him up court. He double team, but undaunted. He's able to get it ahead. Nice pass to Hirt, who's got all day with that. And one thing you'll notice, I'm sure you can even hear from home, is the Swedish coach is very vocal. You can hear what he wants from his players even from here.
Yeah, he's got a big voice, and he uses that to his advantage.
Aoki over center. Just decides to take it himself. Wheeler gives him a pick.
So we see U.S. here. They decide to ease off the pressure and draw it back into a half-court defense. We'll see how Sweden can execute on their key offense here.
And even sometimes when they do, you'll notice Aoki really challenge the guys at the top of the key.
Yeah, well, they draw it back, but they still remain active and put lots of pressure on that ball. And they form a wall right in front of their goal. So it's going to be tough for Sweden to break through.
Sandberg slows it down, surveying his options. One hand on the ball. Decides a little bit of a risky pass, and indeed it was, as he couldn't connect with Hirt.
Tomas was just not quite yet in position. I think if Tobias had waited on that pass a little bit longer, that probably would have been a try.
It does end up being a turnover, and a U.S. inbound is Delagrave.
He picks up his pick and works his way up the court.
Nice pick there by Butler. Delagrave works his way over, and he's going to take it in himself.
And that was good work off the ball by the U.S. players. They were really shielding out the Swedish defenders and just allowed Joe to push end to end.
Now, how much more aggressive do the States want to be off the inbound? Because they've already caused a few turnovers. Or are they just practicing their zone defense as well?
Yeah, well, they were having good success with their press defense there. Yeah, it's probably a call from the coaching staff. A lot of coaches will like to switch up, alternate between that hard press and then falling back into the half-court defense. It keeps teams on their toes, and it doesn't let the game get into a steady rhythm. They keep changing up the tempo. So I expect to see the U.S. I'm sure they'll start pressing again in a moment, but for now they just want to control the tempo.
So it is a U.S. ball.
And the U.S. have brought out a new lineup here.
Chun is in.
Yeah, I think we have a 2-5-2-2-1-5 lineup for the U.S.
Scudero as well.
Two strong players in defensive chairs for the U.S. So I expect Scuturo and Ernie Chung to look to tie up Tobias on the Sweden possession.
Scutero is a very physical player. He likes to tie up his men and has no qualms about engaging physically.
Yeah, he's a tenacious player.
And over he goes there, but Chun's going to try to take it in, and he does.
Ernie using that blistering speed of his. He is incredibly fast for a Class 2, and you'll often see him using that speed to his advantage.
Definitely, and I was mentioning the physicality, and it seems like almost every single player in the States, it's like a mindset. Every player is almost able to do it.
Mm-hmm. The U.S., they have very high quality players and a very deep bench. They have a great domestic system, and they probably have the most wheelchair rugby players in the world playing in their domestic league, so they have lots of choice when it comes to their national team.
4:29 to go. The States with a 8-5 lead, up by 3. Each team still has all 4 of their player timeouts left. Sandberg bounces the ball, trying to get away from Wheeler. Gets a pick from Hildebrand. Goes, and now he connects with Yurt.
Great snag there by Yurt. That was a great effort to catch that ball.
Delagrave. A little bit of a risky pass to Wheeler, but he fields it down and starts getting his momentum moving forward. A nice pick there by Scuturo. Enables him for all sorts of time for Wheeler to take that in.
And the U.S. is continuing to draw back here. They're letting Sweden advance across half court without any pressure. But they're really relying on their tenacious half-court defense. And the U.S. is probably one of the best teams in the world with their key defense. It's really been giving teams a lot of trouble here at this tournament.
Yeah, you mentioned, I think it's really the up-court pressure that they still apply well while they're in there and just attack that key really well.
Yeah, well, they work really well together. Oftentimes you'll see them switching coverage. And it really makes it seem like there's more than 4 players on the court for the U.S. defending. It feels like more like 5 or 6 players out there.
Scuturo in the box for the States, so he's either got to be in there a minute or until Sweden scores. Sandberg realizing that, knows he has some time, kind of.
Yeah, Sweden's going to pull up here. They're going to look to try to get an advantageous transition here for them and try to set something up for when the U.S. has to inbound.
Trying to trap his man out of the box is Hildebrand. We'll see how that goes when the penalty ultimately expires.
Yeah, so Hildebrand's trapping the penalty box right now. He's looking to force Scuturo to inbound, and if Scuturo does not decide to call inbounder, he will be trapped there on the sideline. And that will be a 1-pointer from Sweden, taking out a 1.5 from the U.S. Scuturo comes on and calls inbounder. And Hildebrand comes down. It looks like he's going to set up a steel door baseline trap.
Scuturo is able to get it ahead.
Joe's working his way up the court, and he finds Wheeler wide open deep.
He was wide open, so Delagrave again with a nice play coming out of his end.
Sweden's working really hard here in offensive transition. Ball comes in fairly easily.
Again, we see the States with that up pressure on the inbound, but this time Kurt is able to break it, get a lane all the way, and China's contacted hard there.
A big loss of focus from Tobias Sandberg here. He took an offensive spin call, and that will result in a turnover in U.S.'s favor. That's really a big loss of focus. You do not see that call called very often. it is not a great call to take. You lose possession of the ball.
Sandberg arguing his case, but it was coming off one of the better inbounds by Sweden, so kind of a double whammy there. The first time you have a lot of success off that pressure off the inbound, but you...
Yeah, Uric was wide open on his way to the goal there, so really that was an unfortunate play by Tobias.
Chun none the worse for wear, back up and into the play, 2:56 to go, 10-7 for the States, and it's a U.S. possession here as they work the ball up the court. It's Delagrave. Slowly with Chun, got 4 coming up on the attack together. Now they engage and try to open up a lane for Delagrave, who's reached in on. Gets it to Wheeler, who just backs his way in.
A very successful half-court offense there from the U.S. You can tell they train that quite regularly because they run it very smoothly.
Johnson open in the backcourt, not the greatest pass, but he's all alone, so he's going to feel that pretty easily.
Yeah, he had lots of time to make that play. And now we see a half-court defense from Sweden. So Sweden is quite good in their half-court defense. They've been running it all tournament long. We'll see how they do against the U.S.
You notice that on the last few rushes at the court, the U.S. is really coming slowly as a 4-man unit, and they'll attack the Swedish players like we see now.
Yeah, one of the biggest keys to a successful half-court offense is timing. You all have to attack together and at the same time. And the U.S. is doing that.
Delagrave undaunted, fights through the Swedish traffic, and Sandberg will now inbound. Fakes a hook. Surveying his options. There's a few covered. He might have to call a timeout here.
Yeah, Sweden's in trouble here. And there's a timeout call.
The first one of the game by either team. 2:12 to go in the opening quarter.
Yeah, so each team starts the game with 4 timeouts for 4 player timeouts and 2 bench timeouts. So the 4 player timeouts can be called at any time, and they're often used as a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah, and I was having a conversation with Adam Frost yesterday on the air, and he was saying that they're actually considering getting rid of those player timeouts as a way to change the game and, like you said, take away that get-out-of-jail-free card.
Yeah, well, it would be an interesting game without the timeouts. Teams will often use them to weather through a rough patch, so it can be frustrating as an opposing coach when you're really putting the defensive pressure on a team, and at the end of the quarter, you don't have the results to show for it on the scoreboard. So it'll be interesting to see how the game is without those 4 timeouts.
Ooh, Eskert lobbed one ahead for Sandberg, but again, the States turn that over. It ends up in the hands of Chun. So that timeout didn't work as they would have hoped, and the U.S. turns the ball over nonetheless. Hildebrand looking for an out. Here it gets it, but he's contacted hard by Aoki. In comes Khan. Double team. Ooh, that was a dangerous pass. Sandberg able to field it and again find Janssen in the backcourt. So Sweden able to beat the U.S. Heat on that play.
Yeah, great job by Sweden there. They were under a lot of pressure. The U.S. was really applying the pressure there, but Sweden finds an out.
Aoki back the other way. Again, we see the States slowing up and coming out as a 4-man unit. Aoki almost bounced the ball one too many times, fields it in, drives the middle, and he is able to convert there.
He just pauses before he scores there to allow his teammates to get a good transition.
And around this time of the game, you start seeing clock management by both sides. Sandberg coming back for the Swedes. Hildebrand with him. Aoki the lone man defending for now, but he gets up on the other side. Delagrave.
Yep. Sweden's pulling up here. They definitely want to try to score with a specific time left on the shot clock and on the game clock. They're probably going to look to score around 55 to 50 seconds here.
Sandberg slowing things up, bouncing the ball, getting a countdown from his teammates so he knows exactly how much time is left.
There's 5 seconds left on the shot clock. They got to make something happen here. And they use a timeout. That's pretty unfortunate for Sweden. They definitely wanted to score with 50 to 55 seconds there. But now with the shot clock being reset, they're most likely going to give last possession here to the U.S. And last goal of every quarter is very important in wheelchair rugby.
And the States are already up by 5, so they haven't used a player's timeout either.
Yeah, they're definitely in control of this game. The momentum is all in their favor at the moment.
48.1 to go, opening quarter. 14-9 for the States. Hildebrand. Sandberg. Johnson helping him out, driving the middle lane. He looked for him. Aoki doing a great job of anticipation there, using his big arms to field that one down. Sandberg trying to atone. Back on defense. Johnson gets a triple team. Scoots the ball into his chest, looking for a lane. Gets a little bit of one as Chun and Connor helping him out.
So the U.S. is not looking to score here. They're looking to work down the clock and score with as little time left on the game clock as possible.
Aoki getting shoved back by the Swedes. Makes a pass, a good one to Delagrave. He's got Chun there, but decides just to hang on to it and eat the rest of the clock. Good job of recognition. One more pass to Aoki. And with 3.3 to go, the U.S. does make a nice conversion, so they expand their lead by 6, 15-9.
A very good clock management by the U.S.
Sandberg just going to let this one wind down. A good quarter there by the States, and if you're Sweden, I think you're just lamenting the amount of turnovers in that quarter. I'm not sure offhand, but there was about 4 or 5 and maybe 3 in the first couple minutes off the inbound. So
yeah, well, the U.S. really came out hard, put the pressure on Sweden, and Sweden just really struggled to advance that ball across half court. They even struggled just to get the ball in the first place, and that's attributed to the great transition from the U.S.
So if you're Sweden, what do you have to do to counteract what you're seeing from the States? Yeah,
so they're going to have to work hard as the U.S. is scoring their goal to set up their offense. So I will look to see what Tomas can get, see if he can find the U.S. low pointer and get chair position on him and force a double coverage of Tomas. And hopefully that will open up Toby for an easy inbound.
And it looks like we will see some substitutions, at least by Sweden, to start the second quarter.
Yeah, it looks like they're bringing out their balance lineup with their 2-5-2-5-2-1. So it will be the first time we see that in this game, and we'll see how they can perform against this hard-hitting U.S. team.
So as far as Team Canada goes, I'm not sure how much you've seen of them thus far, but what is your kind of sense of the way they've played?
Yeah, I've been really happy with how they played. They won their first 2 games against Sweden and Denmark, and those were very important games for Canada to win. I expect they'll be battling it out at Worlds for placement or on the kind of rank 5 to 8 position. Their game against Japan, they definitely held in there, and their game against the U.S., the same thing. They're performing well. I think they do have another level they can get to, but I've been very happy with how they've been performing.
And who's because they have a lot of newcomers, so who out of that group have you kind of noticed as a guy who's really caught your eye?
Yeah, well, Matt Delby is such a hard worker out there. He's a pleasure to play with. He'll never quit. Also, Brendan Troutman is a lot of fun to play with. He's really picking up the game extremely quickly, which is awesome to see. Anthony Letourneau, he's got a great sense of humor, and he's a beast out there. He's a big boy. He hits hard, and he's pretty dang fast.
And Norland, back to matters at hand, gets it over to Hewitt. Norland back in the game, and Aoki looking for a way out. Johansson making it difficult along with Hewitt, but he's able to loop one to Letourneau, who turns it over.
Wow, a bit of an unforced turnover there from the U.S.
But they're able to recover possession.
Recover it. And they use a timeout. Great hustle from Talbot from the U.S. to ensure that ball does not get out of bounds.
Yes, Kennedy is a very useful player as the U.S. uses their bench, and whenever he's on, you do notice him. Along with Daly, number 15, who's not on the court at the moment. So good job by the States to recover the error there. Delagrave, Aoki. As Sweden collapses back and the U.S. discusses their options, we'll see a swarm entry by them, and we do now. Aoki trying to wind his way through, goes wide side and scoots in.
Chuck Aoki, such an elusive player. He's a class 3 for the U.S. He's definitely the most important player on the U.S. team. He is probably, he's their fastest, most dynamic player. So for the U.S. to do well, he has to be on his game.
Hirt, the recipient of some good picks there from his teammates. Lindberg also into the game, the elder statesman of the Swedish team. Aoki working his way back. Forward to center for the States. Scaturo initiates first contact as well as Kennedy.
And Chuck there, he pushes Stefan out of bounds, resulting in a penalty goal. And it will be Swedish inbound.
That's happened quite a bit in this one so far. Lindberg. Looking for an option, doesn't look like he has too many. Norland's trying to open up Norlin, but he can't do it. Oh, a good job of Janssen able to scoop back. Corella with one hand.
That was a great effort by Stefan there to keep that ball in bounds.
And over the top pass, another one-handed play there.
Great touch by Stefan there. He's really putting this team on his shoulders right now and carrying the load for Sweden.
Janssen only needs one hand to play this game apparently, as he makes a couple good volley plays too. You talk about get out of jail free card. He provided a couple there for Team Sweden.
Yeah, that was really impressive to watch.
Aoki. Norlin reaching in on him hard. Trying to work the pick of Kennedy to get in. Slowed up, goes over the top to Delagrave. And in the States game earlier against Canada, Wheeler didn't leave the court. He's not on now though, perhaps just giving the rest of the bench a look, plus getting a little rest himself. Hirt for the Swedes. One hands, one ahead. Didn't look like Lindberg was expecting that right away, but gets it, drops it off to Norlin. Aoki not giving him a lane. Lindberg in to pick him, along with Hirt. Norlin. One hands it, good pass to Hirt. Fields it on his lap and puts it in, so the Swedes, pretty good response here to...
Yeah, this balance line has come in and they're performing well. I mean, Steph's really bailed them out a few times on their offensive possessions, but they're performing here, so we'll see how long Benoit wants to keep them out there for.
And a good job by the Swedes here to force the Americans down court to take their second timeout, so each team now with two of those remaining. 5:26 to go second quarter. States up by 5, 18-13. And they're going to have a quick discussion about what went on there and use that timeout effectively.
Yeah, I'm sure Coach Gumby is just telling them to calm down a little bit and to execute the plays that they've been working on all year long.
Also getting some hydration in.
That is very important to stay hydrated. These games can take quite a while to play, and with 2 games a day, you have to stay hydrated if you want to perform your best.
And at what point as an athlete do you start to, obviously you're in great shape, but at what point do you start to feel the burn and maybe like your arms are kind of, feeling it a little bit, not going as well as they usually do?
Yeah, well, I always find that during warm-up, you kind of have to get over that wall, that initial burn. But after you've been properly warmed up, assuming you're in good condition, you can play quite a while before you start to feel the fatigue set in.
Yoki into the middle for Scaturo. Penalty goal again, I believe. Lindberg, Norlin. Lindberg picks Aoki out, so Norlin has a bit more room, but he's converged on hard by Kennedy. Nowhere to really go, so he's going to take the outside route. Scaturo looking to cut that off, so he goes middle. Here, good play there by the Swedes and good execution of realizing by Norlin what was around him and to use that long bomb.
Yeah, great speed from Yurt there to get open deep and to receive that pass.
Scaturo. Aoki. 4 again, slowly to center for the States.
And again, they're just setting up their key offense here. They're all going to attack together with some speed.
There it is. They penetrate that zone. Aoki just bulldogs his way through. Lindberg. Inbounding for Sweden. A quick pass to Hirt. He's converged on hard. Trying to spin away to find a lane. Fakes going outside. Tries inside and back to the outside. Great work by Kennedy, forcing him to make a play, but he does to Norlin. Reached in hard by Aoki. Spinning, bouncing. Norleen. He's got to take that himself. Oh, he's reached in again by Yoki. But manages to hold on to the ball. Getting a countdown by the Swedish bench. Might have to use a timeout, and he does.
That was a good timeout call. With 2 seconds left on the shot clock, they were not in a good position to score, so they used that timeout, and they're going to reset the shot clock to 15.
Didn't really have any options, very locked down. Tried to find a route on the outside a couple times, but there was none.
Yeah, Chuck was really putting the pressure on the ball carrier there, reaching in multiple times. He was a little bit lucky not to get an illegal use of hands call, but Chuck played that well.
So 4 minutes to go, second quarter. State's up by 6, 20-14. Sweden now only has one player timeout left.
And Sweden's brought it back their starting lineup, plus Alfredo instead of Hillebrand. So it's a 3-5-2-5-1-1 for Sweden.
Alvarez for the inbound, newly into the game. Hirt now. One hooks it. Sandberg will be able to score there to close the gap to 5.
And that was nicely executed from Sweden there. That was a good key offensive play. Very smooth.
Melton into the game for the States. Short inbound to Chung, who is in a little bit of trouble, spins away, and now gets a pick from Scudero. Back over to Melton.
And the U.S. has brought out a new lineup as well. They're running a 2-5-2-2-1-5. Chuck Melton's onto the floor for the first time this game.
Ooh, as that ball is hardly contested, but the State's able to recover possession as Scudero was in there.
Sweden gets it back though.
As Hirt brings it forward. Chun's trying to prevent him from making a play. Goes to the middle. Finds Sandberg. Wheeler back onto the court now. Trying to thwart Sandberg from making a play here. Oh, risky pass. Melton didn't really see it coming, but he got in the way. Whose ball is it? It's contested. Still being contested, and the States winds up with it. As Chun does a good job there, gets it to Melton. Pressured hard. What's he going to do with it? Decides to call a timeout.
The U.S. uses a timeout. That was a tough pass for Sweden there. Tobias was faced the wrong way. They went for it and it almost had success, but the U.S. Obviously intercepted it. And but Sweden recovered and really put on the defense there and forced that timeout call. So good job from Sweden.
Yeah, not the worst case scenario when you turn the ball over.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you don't want to turn that ball over, but a bit of a silver lining, forcing that timeout call from the U.S. afterwards.
2:56 to go, first half, second quarter. Both teams with one player timeout, and I don't believe that they've used any of their two coaches' timeouts, so they still do have those if they want to use them. Wheeler. Back into the game as I mentioned. Scudero, Melton, and Chun with him. Trying to do it himself of a pick from Scudero. Gets it over the top to Melton. Alvarez. As a couple of the Swedes are locked in, and this is where the States is giving the Swedes some problems, the initial inbound, but they were able to get it away. And Sandberg now picks it up. Sandberg working hard. Does a nice spin back. Hildebrand's there. Doesn't really see it coming and reaches for it too early, and it pops out of his hands. So Melton recovers possession for the States.
That pass was just a little bit behind him. That was going to be a tough catch.
Melton. What can he do with the turnover? He drops it to Wheeler. Wheeler's got a middle lane. That's what he does. The U.S. capitalizing on the turnover and expand their lead by 8 now. Hildebrand. Ooh, a short inbound, but Sandberg able to get it to Hirt. Trying to get away from Chun there. Can't do it right away, so he stops up and bounces the ball. Now he's double teamed, but he makes a nice pass down court to Alvarez, and Good play there by the Swedes. Short inbound, Scudero back to Melton.
Ernie's wide open deep there. Sweden's really going to have to cover that because that's just such an easy try for the U.S. there.
Alvarez on the inbound for the Swedes.
We got something up with the clock here. The rest are just talking it out. And here we go.
Alvarez, long one-hand hook.
Great pass, great inbound.
He's able to find his man and eventually, ooh.
That was a tough play for Sweden there. I mean, that pass has to come out with a lot more force. It was a bit of a loft pass, and that bought time for the U.S. player to come down and make a play on Hildebrand there.
Yeah, Hildebrand was so deep that he almost had to reach for it and was kind of left with not many options.
Yeah, if that was a crisper pass, Hildebrand would have caught that and scored before the U.S. player could have reached him.
Aoki to Daly now. Daly in the game. Works his way off a pick. Goes down the court to Scutero. Stops up, gives it to Aoki. Aoki takes a bit of a bump, but he's going to delay as long as he can because the clock management has come into effect in the last minute of play in the half.
Yeah, he's just taking ticks there and scores with 53.9 left on the game clock.
Alvarez, Hewitt, a little bit of a risky pass to Sandberg, but he is able to field it. Double team now, bounces the ball, he's not over his center. Throws one up to Alvarez, one hook back to Hewitt, and one more pass there, and that was a good one to Hildebrand, who does convert with 40.1 seconds to go. 25-17, the States lead.
That was great spacing by Sweden there, and great movement of the ball. Every player touched it before they scored. Tobias just took a penalty on under 40, not advisable. They're going to give the U.S. an easy last goal here. Sweden's top dog, their 3-5 is in the box, so the U.S. will have no problem gaining half court and winding the clock down before they score.
Yeah, not like they needed any help, but it's just a little bit of an extra dagger here. As the States will inbound. And Aoki, a nice over-the-top pass to Daly, and he's just going to, as you said, eat the rest of this clock. Looks around. Controlling the ball. Feeling no pressure. Aoki has it in his lap. Here's the 15 countdown. Gets to the middle, bounces the ball. Just going to wind as much time as he can. Here trying to make that not quite as easy, but it's not going to matter. 1.2 to go.
And the U.S. are going to drop back here, make sure there's no easy over-the-top pass. But Sweden's probably just going to look to get it in safe and wind down the clock in the first half.
So Sweden did put up some resistance in the kind of middle part of that quarter, but in the end, the States kept applying the pressure. A couple turnovers again, but much of like what we saw in the first quarter and that second quarter as well.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of expected this to happen. The U.S., you know, they have a lot of talented players on their team, deep bench. Sweden was going to be tough to win this game. They're holding in there, and I've been impressed with the turnovers that Sweden has been able to create. But the Team U.S. is definitely in control here and looking to cruise to another victory.
The bench on the Swedish side looking a little dejected, but they have had some good fight in them and haven't given up. And while we're at it, Byron, we may want to thank some of our sponsors who are so great in helping us put events like this together. And we'll start with the Government of Canada and the Government of BC, and that's the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture, and Richmond Sport Hosting, as well as this beautiful facility, the Richmond Olympic Oval, and the hotels as well that help out our athletes and coaches and all that, the Sheridan Vancouver Airport and the Hilton Vancouver Airport.
As well as the Vancouver Airport Marriott Hotel. Vesco Metalcraft, they're here and they're providing maintenance for all the chairs. Vesco is responsible for building these chairs. They're all customizable and individualized to each athlete. Hollister is also a sponsor, and the local 258 IBEW, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Engineers. Thank you guys very much for your support. The Canada Cup, this is the 8th time we've hosted it here in Richmond, and we're looking to host it for many more years with the support of our amazing sponsors.
And the States have actually won it every time they've come out. So looking in good shape to, obviously they're going to be playing for the gold, and Japan's not going to be an easy out. But yeah, definitely putting themselves in a good position.
Yeah, the U.S. has looked good here so far. They played a very tight game versus Japan yesterday. It was a 1-point game. The States won that on a last-second kind of Hail Mary play that worked out in their favor. I'm sure Japan's looking to get a little bit of revenge in the finals. Sweden is going to be looking forward to their game tomorrow. They're most likely going to play Denmark in the 5th-6th position game. And they're going to look to deliver a good contest and look for their first win.
Yes, they will. And the team they almost beat was Team Denmark, so they almost had a taste for it, and they'll get another chance tomorrow. That'll be 10 a.m. on Court 2. The bronze medal game will be played at noon on Court 1, and then the grand finale, the gold medal match, will be 2 p.m. on Court 1 live from the Richmond Olympic Oval, so you can tune in to all the action starting tomorrow at 10 a.m.
And if you live in the area, I really encourage you to come out and watch live. The webcam is great, but it really doesn't do the sport justice watching online. If you have the chance to come watch it live, it's amazing how much faster it is in person and how much louder the hits are.
Yes, and you can really appreciate the finer points of the game, more being close to the action.
And we have a beer garden here.
Yes, I've yet to sample the fruits. Not much of a beer drinker myself, to be honest.
They have cider as well, so.
And from the Swedes, do you just want to see, proper execution and just, we've been talking so much that even though, because this is kind of like a dress rehearsal for the Worlds, so just making sure you prep properly and develop the right sort of habits?
Yeah, well, at this point in the game, they obviously probably realize that their chances of winning it is maybe a little bit out of reach. But at the same time, they can use this as an opportunity to practice their plays and sharpen up before their big match tomorrow, and also leading into Worlds in August, where they're going to look to have a good performance. Sweden is currently ranked 6th in the world, and they're going to be tough to defend that ranking. There's a lot of teams coming into Worlds that are looking in very good form. It's great to see countries around the world developing their wheelchair rugby programs. There's a lot of talent that has been up and coming in the sport of wheelchair rugby. This looks to be one of the most competitive worlds yet.
And that is the one thing that has amazed me watching the sport, is even the teams that aren't as highly ranked, but they can still give any team a good game. It's not as if the barn doors are blown off in these games.
Yeah, and that's what really used to happen a few years ago. There was kind of the top 3 teams and then everybody else. But now it's 1 through 8 can all play each other very, very tight.
Aoki kicking off the third quarter by jamming his way through and scoring for the States.
Yeah, he really forces his way through there. There wasn't much of a hole there, but he really he made one for himself.
Ooh, hook ahead, and that's a turnover by Sandberg, as it was a little bit of a hoper pass as Janssen wasn't ready for it, and the States on the turnover looking to capitalize and almost turn it over themselves, but I think it went out off a Swede.
Yeah, it was Hillebrand deflected that pass out of bounds. Scaturo secured that turnover by playing space really well deep. He wasn't tight to his guy. He was more in the passing lane, and the ball ended up going right onto his lap.
Aoki got Delagrave, Kennedy, and Scaturo back in the court with him.
And Hillebrand gets forced out of bounds into the cone, so it's going to be a penalty. And the U.S. will get to inbound from the sideline and look to take advantage of this 4-on-3.
Delagrave. Looks like he's set to inbound this one.
Talbot calls inbounder because he was caught in the key. On offense, you're only allowed in the key area for 10 seconds, so that was a great call from Talbot to call inbounder and get himself out of a sticky situation. And Chuck here has an equipment call, so the U.S. equipment guy is going to come out, replace the wheel, and get Chuck good to go.
He might seem like one of those guys who needs it more frequently with how much hard contact that he initiates.
Yeah, well, when you're going at a high speed and somebody smashes into your tire, you're pretty much going to get a flat every time.
So the U.S. Kennedy goes a short pass to Delagrave. He's got Aoki open midcourt. Scoops it up. Just wants to.
The U.S. is just setting up their defensive transition here. They're going to take their time to score, let their players jostle around and get an advantage by locking up these Swedish players.
Ultimately, Aoki does take it in over the line. 1 minute and 10 seconds gone in the third quarter. The U.S. up by 11 now. Hildebrand set to inbound the ball. Sandberg's all locked up, as you mentioned. They're working on their transition. He's trying to present his hand over the top, but still risky.
Just over the top there.
So what do you have to do there? I mean, that is a risky pass no matter what you do. So
yeah, I mean, he really didn't have many options. I mean, he could have called the timeout, but yeah, he's really just got to drop that in there to Tobias.
Norlin now with a lane. Nice pass to Jonsson.
And Sweden's looking to apply some pressure here with a press.
Delagrave. Long scooper pass as Aoki's contacted, goes up, but he's able to make the play to Scuturo.
And the U.S. is trying to drop into a key, but Sweden picks up the Talbot, who scored in transition. Actually, sorry, it was Scuturo. Sweden gets the ball in. The U.S. is lined up at half court waiting for him. I've never seen this defense before, so let's see how it works out for the U.S.
Just trying to deny him that center line. So far, Sandberg's double teamed. But he is able to get it to Jonsson, who's contacted. And almost sends him up.
Over and back. Or timeout call from Sweden. He was about to be hit over and back. So that was a very effective defense from the U.S. I'd like to see that again. It was pretty interesting. So it looked like they were trying to drop back into the key, but Scuturo got caught in transition by the Swedish players. So the rest of the U.S. team responded and lined up just on their side of half and really attacked Sweden as they approached the line.
Sandberg now to Norlin, and they hook up there. Aoki on the inbound for the States. Oh, that was a risky pass as Norlin almost got in the way, but it does get through to Delagrave.
So you don't often see Chuck Aoki inbound, so I'm not sure why he called inbounder there. I don't think he was transitioned. Maybe they're just trying some new things here while they have this big lead.
I was going to say maybe just wants to try it out. Hildebrand, Sandberg.
So here we go. The U.S. is set up in this defense again. They have one person pressing the ball and three waiting at half court and looking to really attack the ball as it tries to gain half. Sweden has figured it out, though. They make that safe pass over to Norlin.
Norlin with the ball. Sandberg trying to get a pick from Norlin, and now Jonsson comes in to help out as well. They're getting a bit of a countdown. Now Sandberg takes the outside route. One last reach from Delagrave.
And penalty goal for the Sweden.
So they do get the point.
That was a great job by Hildenbrand to steal the corner there and allow the ball to swing around and score.
Scuturo back the other way, just eases his way over the line for this one. And you can start to see the pace of the game drop off a little bit from what we saw in the first half, the score being what it is. Yeah,
I mean, U.S. is in control here, and they're looking to probably conserve a little bit of energy and try out a few new strategies. And yes, the pace has definitely slowed down.
Sandberg, one hand on the ball, now backing his way in away from Aoki. Johnson in to help out as Tim and Kennedy jostle. Goes, wow, great pass over the top to the far side to Norlene.
Yeah, and Hildebrand had sealed that corner again. Norlene just tucked in right behind him, and Tobias made that long pass across the key and dropped it in for an easy try.
Delagraven, double coverage. Aoki finding with some space, but down goes Kennedy. So Aoki's just going to score here, and then they'll blow the whistle as Kennedy's looking like he's having a nice little breather on the floor there. Someone get that man a pillow.
Well, it looks like he might get a chance to rest here. The U.S. is bringing in some subs, so I'm sure he'll go back to the bench and get some water and get himself sorted out.
And the new men on the court kind of discussing their plans. The only man not out is Cotero, but we've got Wheeler, Melton, and Chun back on. They've been effective when they've been in, as Kennedy will take this chance, you're right, to go to the bench.
And we have new players in for Sweden as well. Number 4 from Sweden, what's his name here?
Varnerud.
This is the first time I've seen him all tournament long, so we'll see how he does.
Me as well, so Hirt. Over the top. Ooh, he tried to find Lindbergh, who I'm not sure. He looks like he dropped the ball before the line, so I think that might be a turnover here.
This is Frederick Johnston's first time in the tournament as well. I've never seen him play for Sweden before. He's one of their rookies, so I'm excited to see what he can deliver out here.
Almost a turnover there by Lindbergh, but Melton able to corral it down, send one ahead for Wheeler. And you talked about the States conserving guys with energy, and Wheeler plays a lot, so that was the longest break I'm sure he might have taken in this tournament, but back in action there.
Yeah, Wheeler's one of the key players for the U.S. He's a 2'5", he's got tons of speed, long arms. He's a key player for the U.S.
Hirt stopping up. Chun trying to make his life difficult. Got a call here. I think it's 4 in the key.
Yeah, so one of the U.S. players will make his way to the box. It looks like Adam Scutero was the last man in the key. So he'll serve out the minute or until Sweden scores.
Jonsson wants the ball in the inbound. Get it. We go to Lindbergh here. Wheeler pressuring him. Goes to Hirt. Locked down pretty good.
The U.S. applying pretty good pressure here with only 3 players.
But good pick by Lindbergh to open up a bit of space, and Hirt will use the time and extra men just to control the ball here. Where is he going to go? Trying to find Jonsson, but it ends up on the stick or in the hands of Varnerud, and he's able to convert. Melton with the inbound for the States. Jonsson on him, making life very difficult for Melton. He's double teamed, but he's able to get it over the top to Wheeler. He's got a man down court, that's Chun. It's a little bit ahead of him. Can he catch up? Yes, he will.
Yeah, it looked a little worrisome for a moment there, but Ernie, with his great speed, tracks that thing down.
201 seconds to go in the third quarter of play, 35-22 for the States. The States still do have 1 player's timeout in their back pocket. Jonsson, pressured hard by the States, drops it off to Hirt. There's Varnerud. He's going to get his first score of the match, and the coach is very pleased with that. So good job by Varnerud there.
Yeah, these rookies for Sweden are performing very well. I mean, the U.S. is a top quality team, and they're trading goals back and forth. So I think Benoit is quite impressed with how his players are performing.
Melton doing a good job of absorbing contact before ultimately getting it to Chun. And Sweden.
Johnson has called inbounder here, so he makes his way back.
Jonsson. Short inbound to Lindbergh. He's going to open himself back up as Lindbergh takes the ball from Chun, who's doing a great job of applying pressure down court. Forces Lindbergh to throw it away.
He forces him out of bounds before he manages to get the ball away, so that's going to be a U.S. ball.
And that's been the theme of the match almost since the start, is those inbounds. The States isn't going to give you an inch that you're not going to fight for.
Yeah, and Ernie did a great job of keeping the pressure on that Swedish player by pushing on his wheels.
And Off the inbound, it's Aoki. Slowing things down, discussing things with Daly rather casually. Also into the game is Fredette.
I think this is the first time we've seen Lee Fredette in the game.
So just making sure they're going in as a group of 4 to penetrate the key and get a pick. Ultimately, that's exactly what they do in Aoki on the business end of that one.
Sweden in some trouble here. They're all locked down very close to their goal.
No timeouts. They throw a weak one ahead, and waiting with open arms is Aoki.
Thank you very much, he says.
Yeah. He'll eat that one up all day. They do end up scoring out of it.
Again, Sweden is tightly contained here. But their inbounder leaks out and is going to receive a deep pass.
Yunsen down in the court. He wants it. They're going for it, but rejected by Aoki.
And Sweden really waited way too long to try to make that pass. Fredrik Jansson was wide open early, and the pass did not come. So by the time they attempted the pass, U.S. defenders had already recovered deep. So
yeah,
even if that pass had been able to get deep, I'm pretty sure it would have been a turnover. So Sweden's going to have to execute that a little bit better if they want to have success here breaking half.
Especially when everyone knows it's coming, it's much easier to defend.
Yeah.
Aoki stops up, slowly discussing things, and we've seen the States take a more conservative approach as they go up the court, just really working on the aspects of their game that they want to be sharp.
Yeah, and in the last 2 minutes of every quarter, scoring at specific times becomes very important to set up that last possession. So the U.S. scores at 129, which was pretty much perfect timing on their part.
Yunsen on a route. Back to Yunsen. Contacted hard by Aoki. Again, that upcourt pressure. Gets it to Yurt, who almost coughed it up but bounced it back into his lap. Daly's not going to give him an easy time to score, but he ultimately does.
That was a great second effort by Yurt there to wrangle that ball in and push it across the line.
Fredette. Daly. Getting by his men there. Ultimately gets some resistance from Lindberg. Bounces the ball. Reaches back. Good job by Lindberg of pressuring before half. Kennedy. Aoki.
And Sweden takes a penalty here. An illegal use of hands. That's Jansson.
I think they've done that in each of the 3 quarters. They've taken a penalty close to the last minute. So
yeah, it's really not a great time to take a penalty. Really under 2 minutes, you do not want to take penalties, as it makes it much easier for the opposing team to set up their last goal.
And especially in the ones in each of the last 2 quarters, is that a large part of just the frustration of the score being what it is? And
it very much could be. I mean, Sweden kind of has to go for it here, being down by so much. They have to try to force turnovers. But at the same time, you do want to practice good habits, and it is not a good habit to reach with such little time left on the clock.
Daly to Delagrave. Aoki had a little bit of trouble, takes it right to left, palms it down and puts it in. 49.9 to go, 3rd quarter. States up by 16 now, 40-24.
So the U.S. scoring with about 49 seconds on the clock here. What they want to do on this defense is force Sweden to take at least 10 seconds to score. I mean, ideally they'll get a turnover, but really against the higher level teams, you just want to force them to take longer than 10 seconds to score. That way you're ensuring yourself last possession of the quarter.
Here at Longbomb in coverage, and Aoki was all over that. So the States do get the turnover they were yearning for. Aoki, oh, nice move around Yunsen. Pump fake like he was going to pass and went through.
And the U.S. are going to pull up here, form a bit of a triangle offense and just play keep away. Work the clock down and score with 1 or 2 seconds left.
Aoki going in. It looks like he might just take this himself and eat some time. And he does. Exactly 5 to go. 17-point lead. So will Sweden try a long bomb, or will they just eat the clock? And here it is contacted in again. Wow. Another turnover by the States. And
they couldn't quite capitalize on it, however, but great pressure from the U.S.
And coming into this game, that's what I realized about the States is it doesn't matter the score, it doesn't matter who they're playing. They're just approaching the game the same way, and you really have to applaud that kind of consistent effort by the players, but I would assume that's a lot of coaching as well, just drilling the good habits that you were talking about into these guys.
Well, that's definitely the U.S. style, the high-intensity play. They do have a deep bench, and I think that is part of what allows them to play at that high intensity. They rotate through all their players, ensuring that they're each getting enough rest to maintain that high-intensity work ethic that they display on the court.
And while we have just over a minute before the start of the fourth quarter, I'd also like to thank the great volunteers who make this event what it is. You know, you see a lot of the guys behind the scenes, you know, the production people on this broadcast or the people who volunteer their time so generously to make sure that everything goes from point A to B so smoothly each year.
Yeah, this is really a wonderful event. This is the 8th time that we've held the Canada Cup, and it's all in part due to the volunteers. Also, wheelchair rugby teams would not be possible without the great equipment volunteers that we see on each bench. And it's really a big part of the game, our volunteers, and we're so appreciative of them.
I call them the pit crew. They are pretty quick and fast at what they do, always ready at the drop of a hat. It was something.
Yeah, they really have to work hard to maintain these chairs. It's a lot of work after hours, keeping the chairs in tip-top condition.
So, Sweden looking to finish the game strong. Of course, the result isn't in doubt here as they're down by 17. No timeouts left, at least player ones anyways. Alvarez inbounds to Sandberg. States collapsing in the zone defense. So what can the Swedes do to penetrate it? We'll find out. Sandberg gets picked from Janssen. Goes to Norland, chests it down. Wedging his way through and then goes to Sandberg. Nice quick pass to Janssen who backs his way in.
Great effort by Stefan there to get open on the right side of the key.
Fredette for the States inbounding. Gets it to Wheeler. And a long one ahead.
And we have a race for it.
Man, that one's going to be won by Sandberg, so that's a U.S. turnover, a little bit of a hoper pass, and Sandberg is the recipient of that turnover.
Yeah, a little bit of a lazy pass there. Definitely, he probably could have made that pass more direct to his player, to Joe there. But instead, he decides to just lob it down the court, and Tobias tracks it down.
Anything you can do, I can do better, as now the Swedes turn it over to Wheeler. We'll convert there.
Great job from the U.S. to get that turnover back. And again, they drop into this half-court defense.
Sandberg with Alvarez and Norlin.
I'd like to see Sweden attack this key defense with a bit more speed. They come in and they start almost from a dead stop before they start trying to penetrate this key. And it's really, the U.S. is having no problems keeping their players locked down. So I think if they attacked with a bit more speed, they might have a little bit more success.
It ends up through that. I wasn't sure what happened. It took a bounce.
Yeah, it went off a U.S. player, so it's going to remain Sweden ball.
And Norlin to Sandberg. Getting some direction. Bounces the ball as Norlin's trying to attack a lane and give him a pick. Fredette there, but doesn't offer much resistance. Wheeler reaching in.
And we have an illegal use of hands. And Josh Wheeler is going to go to the box. So on that possession, the Sweden, Norlin and Tobias came up to half court and attacked the key with some speed, and it had a bit more of a successful result for them. So I look to see if they can keep that up.
Wheeler in the box having a discussion with a fan there. It's all good when you're up by as many as they are. You can afford to be a little more relaxed.
Yeah, the U.S. is all smiles here. This game is not in doubt, and I'm sure they're looking forward to a big game in the finals tomorrow.
Sandberg off the inbound. Slowly operating his way through. Meets a little resistance, but not a whole lot, but he can't get a lane at the same token. Now he gets one to the outside, Daly on him, as well as Fredette. Keeps using his outside momentum. Just trying to tick off as much time as he can. So you mentioned they can lock the guy in on transition in the box. That's Wheeler.
Yeah, I'm not sure really why Sweden is counting down the clock here. if they want to try to get back in this game, they need to score quick and have as many defensive chances as possible.
Wheeler able to fight his way through. Back into the play now. Melton inbounding the ball for the States. He's got Daly as an option. Melton gives him some instructions. Those two work in unison to get that ball. Daly absorbs contact, goes to Wheeler. He's got Melton with him. Now we'll give him the pass. It's a little bit ahead of him, but it's a nice soft one.
Yeah, nice bounce pass. Allows Chuck Melton to get underneath that and secure the try.
Alvarez goes for the short out to Janssen. Wheeler all over him, not giving him an easy time. Goes behind the back there to Sandberg. State's not making it easy to get over center. Tosses that one in the air. It goes off Daly and then off Janssen. So I think that is a U.S. ball.
Yeah, Janssen probably should not have touched that. It was going off the U.S. player out of bounds. But he reaches back for it and the U.S. ball.
Burdette set to inbound. A small pass to Daly. Get some pressure in the back pocket by Janssen. Able to protect the ball. Slow it down as Janssen flies by.
Yeah, he's really putting in a lot of effort out there.
Daly finding a lane and penalty goal, I believe.
Alvarez is forced out of bounds for the penalty goal.
Getting the hang of it. Sandberg the other way. He's got some speed, so he's going to use it. Wheeler trying to thwart him. Good job with him and Melton to not let him have the easy goal as he's got to turn back. Gets into the arms of Janssen, who does score. But good job nonetheless by the U.S. not to give him anything easy and to keep the pressure up as Melton with an inbound now. 44-27, 4:58 to go in this one. Wheeler lobs it ahead, and Daly is wide open here.
Yeah, easy goal for Jake and the U.S.
Takes a few more ticks off the clock. Why not?
Oh, goodness, I wouldn't have caught that one.
Alvarez. Short pass, but Sandberg has no pressure on him. Now he gets a pick from Norland. Goes in between Daly. Now away from Fredette. Melton can't stop him either. Neither can Wheeler. Actually, nope, they don't. So good job of Sandberg, able to juke and dodge, change his pace a little bit, enough to snake his way in there.
Yeah, that was a great possession by Tobias. He really worked his way through the whole U.S. team there to score that try.
Wheeler bounces the ball. He's got some speed going. Decides to carry that one himself. Equipment issue, I believe.
Yeah, Alvarez has an equipment issue. The Swedish equipment people are going to come out and fix him up.
So jumping ahead to the gold medal match tomorrow between Japan and the United States, give us not a prediction, but just what the fans or the people watching at home will see in that one.
Yeah, well, it's going to be a lot of very fast-paced rugby. There's going to be a lot of big hits, quick plays. Yeah, it's going to be a barn burner. I expect another very, very tight score. I think any team could come out on top. So if you can, tune in and be treated to a very high-quality game of wheelchair rugby.
Would you say the U.S. has a bit more of a bench than Japan does?
Yeah, definitely. The U.S. will play their whole bench in that game. Maybe a couple players might not see the court, but Gumby will rotate through most of his players. Japan, they do have a couple good lineups, but they're not quite as deep as the U.S.
I'm not sure. I haven't seen, but how much has Hashimoto played, the young 16-year-old?
I saw him play just last game for the first time. I think he may have played earlier in the tournament. I haven't been watching all of Japan's games, but he's only 16 years old. He's got a very bright future ahead of him in the sport of wheelchair rugby.
And just from the sheer physicality standpoint, it's amazing that these guys being so young and, you're not developed at that age, and such a physical sport, they're able to compete.
Yeah, it's awesome to see him here competing at his first international tournament. And like I said, I expect many great things from him in the future.
Alvarez inbounding as the U.S. collapsing in their zone defense. So Sandberg's got an easy out over center. Alvarez with him, looking to help him out with a lane here as Wheeler's going to be the first to attack. Alvaro's looking to take him out. Now Daly's in there as well, but Sandberg goes wide side and into the middle there to Hirt. So a good job there of execution by the Swedes with 4:03 to go. 46-29 is the score, and the States still have one timeout in their back pocket.
We have an equipment timeout from Tobias here, and he called that before the ball was inbounded, so the ref blows a whistle.
And I've never seen it, but let's say that a team has used all his timeouts and a player's calling equipment, but it's found that he doesn't actually need that equipment timeout. Can you get charged with a delay of game penalty? Does that ever happen?
Yes, you can. It doesn't happen very often, but it does happen.
I thought that might be a little crafty move.
Yeah, and the refs pay close attention when you do call an equipment, and they make sure that it is a legal equipment call.
And in any sport, you don't want to be given a reputation of that guy, because then you might not get the benefit of the call when you actually are in trouble.
Yeah, it's true.
Melton gets it to Wheeler.
Great crack block from the U.S. there.
Yeah, gives him a real lane, and now he's going to use his speed to take off. And another little pick just to gain him a little more space for Wheeler. Alvarez over the top. Sandberg wheels onto that one. Wheeler. Melton. Trying to prevent him from scoring. Hildebrand is open. Gets it in his lap.
The ball.
One more time.
Oh, what a pass over to Thomas Yurt.
Nice.
Great effort by Hildebrand there.
And Yurt has a smile on his face as he puts that one in. I thought he might want to take that himself with Hildebrand, but he decides to be unselfish there.
Well, I think there was a player blocking his way in there. Yeah, if he had tried to turn around and get in, he would have been swarmed, I'm sure. So that was a great heads-up play from Hildebrand to make that pass, especially over a tall U.S. defender. Well executed.
Melton. Daly. Over the top, here's Aoki. He'll have all day with that one, but he won't take all day.
So this is the first time Matt Milstead has come in for the U.S. He is a Class 1 for the U.S. I've never seen him play before, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do out there.
He had a few ticks against Canada and actually got 2 points, if I'm not mistaken. Sandberg for the Swedes. Trying to wedge his way through Aoki, but that's not going to happen. So he's going to look for another option as he bounces the ball.
And Yurt just manages to slice in there, create an opening, and find the ball.
Inbound for the States. Whoa, a bit of a risky pass, but Daly reaches back and up to field that one down in a little bit of trouble, but a great pass to Melton there. Won't have speed to get away, so he goes for one more pass. And Aoki with some style goes left to right in the air and gets that one in.
Yeah, a little bit of a juggle, but he secures that ball.
Hirt. Aoki not giving him an easy out, but he's able to find Sandberg in open court.
Great pass from Yurt there.
Hildebrand giving him a little extra block on the transition end as Daly set to inbound. He does it quickly to Aoki. Spinning away from Sandberg. Gets it to Daly. Melton thought about giving him a block and then just realized he didn't need to. So 2:33 to go, 50-32 for the States. And if they have it, say in the last, minute or inside the minute of where the shot clock will be at 40, do you see them just using their players' timeout anyways? Just to make sure that they end it with the last possession?
Yeah, they very well could. The game's not in question, so I'm sure the U.S. may try to practice a last goal situation and use their timeout to set that up.
Here it almost looked like he reeled that in with his bicep.
Yeah, oftentimes you'll see players kind of wheeling with their elbows if they're using their hands to protect the ball. And I think that's what Hildebrand was doing right there.
Daly, short one to Melton. Daly trying to open himself up. Goes to Aoki. Daly ahead of the play now, setting a pick. Another great pick there by Daly. Enables Aoki to wheel in for a score.
And with 2 minutes left, both teams are going to start to look to score at very specific times on the game clock to set up that last goal. Even though the result is not in question at this point, both teams will want to practice that last goal situation.
Oh, a great pass from Sandberg, and here it reached back in coverage to get that. Now goes in backwards, so good job of execution there.
Yeah, very well done from Sweden. Urt was under a lot of pressure from Chuck Aoki to make that catch.
Swedish coach not letting up, and now Aoki's triple teamed. Melton to Daly, and you'll have all day with that one. Looks around, and now we will probably start seeing the clock management that we're talking about. Alvarez.
Great pass from Alvarez there. He gets the ball back. He's looking to pass. Back to Tobias.
Sandberg.
Cross half court.
One more. Sorry for the technical difficulties there, folks, but we're back with you. Sweden with the ball as Sandberg has it. Finds Alvarez, contacted hard by Daly. Goes into the middle. Sandberg over to Hurt. And they do convert there do the Swedes.
38 left on the game clock.
Time for one more possession for the States. Aoki to Melton.
Whoa, and an errant pass goes out of bounds. So Sweden will have a chance here.
Sandberg. Telling them to eat as much of the time on the clock as the Swedish coach.
Yeah, and they're just practicing their last goal situation here while they have an opportunity against a great team like the U.S.
Aoki not giving Hildenbrand an easy time to set a pick.
Oh, and a Swedish player is forced out of bounds, forcing a turnover. So U.S. will regain possession with 14 seconds left.
And yes, neither team is is quitting here. It's amazing in this score with well under a minute to go. And again, you can't stop playing the right way at this level especially. And that's really being drilled home even to me as I watch this live. So
yeah, both teams have looked a little bit sloppy here in the last minute of this game. And it can be due to the score. That's to be expected. When you're getting blown out, it's pretty easy to lose focus. I'm sure the coaches are not going to like it very much. They would much rather see their teams execute their plays well.
But they are still hungry to get the ball back.
And here we go. We got a coach's timeout from the U.S. So we'll see what they are cooking up here.
Trying to maybe get one last, like you mentioned, practice that last kind of moments game situation. Maybe, who knows, they might face it tomorrow, right? So
yeah, I mean,
want to be sharp.
Earlier in the tournament, the U.S. made a great play with 4 seconds left on the game clock to score a goal that ended up winning them the game against Japan.
So let's see what play they draw up here.
Being able to execute plays with tight time limits can be game-winning in the sport of wheelchair rugby.
Where it's almost like drilled into the back of your mind, so you're not consciously thinking about it. It's more instinctual.
And the U.S. is set up in the key. And they just cannot make that play.
Doesn't work down to Melton. I thought they might let the rest of the time tick off as there's not many to go, but
yeah, and the clock ran a little bit long there. There probably should be about 2 seconds left, but with a score as it is, it doesn't make that much of a difference.
Do you ever see long arguments about the score clock and having to go to review it?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's some situations where it happens, but with the score as it is, we're not going to see that today.
And the States stay perfect. They'll be ready to go for goal tomorrow. As far as the Swedes, they'll be looking for the first win in the 5-6 matchup against the Danes tomorrow on court 2 at 10 a.m. So a lot of action coming tomorrow, but before that, we have the warm-up for the bronze medal game. It'll be Canada and Australia next right here on Court 1 in about just over half an hour's time, so be sure to tune in for that. And
yeah, so go grab a beverage, go grab a snack, and then come right back for some more exciting wheelchair rugby.
thank you very much for listening tonight. I'm Colin Emerson, and for Byron Green saying so long and see you soon.